Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew, and this is JupyterLab Weekly Call. We started our recording, so now everything is on the record. And let's start to follow the agenda one by one. So far, I can see only one item on the agenda. Frederick, if you're ready, you can go, or you can take a minute to finish writing if you want to do that. Can't hear you so far. No sound for me from you.
Yeah, sorry. Holiday, I forget what to do to turn on my mic.
Good enough.
So I'm coming back to the proposal I opened before I took some holidays on the membership rights of people, a member of the JupyterLab console. As there hasn't been any additional point raised in discussion and in the PR, I'm gonna call for a vote. Just to let people know, I will do it tomorrow, I guess. So that's for information. And another point I want to highlight is the NBDime migration to JupyterLab 4 is almost ready, like a first version of it. Thanks a lot to Florence, Mario, and Jeremy that helped a lot, and others that I'm probably missing because lots of people were involved in that. We have a slight bottleneck issue with the maintenance of the project and with people with elevated rights on it. So I have opened an issue because I think it would be good, especially as it's a dependency of JupyterLab Kit for more stakeholder to be able to have maintenance right on that project. So I will add the link to the issue and just for your awareness that if you are interested to be part of the people maintaining that extension, that tool, that we have started a discussion about increasing the number of maintainers. And that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Frederick. If there are any comments or questions, let's ask them. If not, we can go to the next item in the agenda, which is already being tapped by Gabriel. So if you're ready to go, please do. You can go.
Hey, yeah. So last week after this meeting, there was a little get together and discussion about keyboard UX in JupyterLab. And as a follow-up to that, Nicola started a conversation, a GitHub discussion. And I just wanted to raise awareness for it and provide the link in the HackMD notes. So yes, if you want to participate in that conversation, please visit that link and weigh in. Thanks.
Oh, thanks for surfacing that, Gabriel. So thank you for hosting that meeting. Good stuff.
Yeah, and thanks to Nicola for opening the discussion.
Okay, so I see that in the agenda, next we don't have items per se. We have PSA with pairs that need review. I don't know who is filling out that section, who's typing that section. If you would like to talk about it, you can talk about it.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So this is a periodic reminder that if you have a pull request which hasn't received an attention, please feel welcome to apply the status needs review label. And I'm doing that on my pull request and sometimes on pull requests which I briefly reviewed but contributed to substantially and don't want to be the person approving. Otherwise, it's myself approving pull request which I have written. And yeah, please feel welcome to help and review these pull requests, and hopefully we will be able, with more forces back, to reduce the queue of pull requests. And maybe we'll need to have another triage meeting at some time to cool the idle pull request, because yeah, the number of pages that we've got is getting a little bit difficult to manage.
Thank you, Mike. I typed out the advice to put needs review label. So it's there in the agenda. People on the call, if you have time to and availability and ability to review PRs that Mike listed that as PRs that need review, please review them. That would be very helpful. Don't forget to apply needs review label. And yeah, if there are any questions about this, please ask. There are no more items on the agenda. So if there is something you'd like to talk about, but don't want to put an item, but still want to talk publicly on the record about it, now is the time.
So I was following a discussion that was going on the Jupyter AI repository, where some kind person submitted a code completion pull request to use a large language model called StarCoder, which allows people to kind of auto-complete their code using an AI model. And Mike also linked this to an open discussion in JupyterLab. So I don't know if there's really an action item about this. I wanted to kind of bring this to the attention of the broader group, because I know that this is a big topic of interest, whether you're interested in large language models or you're worried about them or you're upset about them. I wanted to make people more aware of that and see how the group feels about integrating these kinds of completions with our code editor.
I guess, Jason, would be that as for the debugger, when the plugin has settled down on API and some kind of stability, it's gonna be probably a good time to propose a PR to make it part of core, I guess.
Mm-hmm. This is one of those things where, you know, there's an old cliche in ice hockey that you're supposed to skate to where the puck is going, not to where it is today. And so there already are some IDEs that have these sort of, you know, AI code completions available. What we have to do is try to read the signs of where things are going and try to meet things where they will be. And anybody who has a crystal ball or any ability to predict the future, please speak up now.
I don't have a crystal ball, but yeah, I think there is a value in bringing the core API, which allows to implement that, and the editor integration into the core. I have already mentioned some of the reasons, which is that there might be a simultaneous interaction between the normal completer and the inline completions, and resolving that if these implementations are in separate repositories might start getting difficult, and that's a lesson from another editor which already is doing that. And the other thing is that, as with the normal completer, users might want to have multiple sources of completions, and that might be from two different models, one which is specialized in, for example, docstring or unit test, and the other which is fine-tuned for other tasks.
Right.
And the ability to have a single API which handles that, I see that it would be beneficial. But yeah, others might not agree, and the details of how the API should look like, please, if you have opinions, contribute to the discussion on the issue. But for now, what I proposed was to basically extend the completion provider interface and adapt what is being drafted in the LSP specification.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things, so the most common bit of feedback I get about Jupyter AI is people get worried when most of the large language models that are available are hosted by third parties, because JupyterLab is typically something you install on a local system that doesn't require even internet access, right? You could put it on a laptop and take the laptop offline and JupyterLab still works. You just use it on your own local machine. And if you use a third-party large language model, a lot of people, including my coworkers, are worried about leaking confidential data outside the firewall to a third party. So, with Mike's help and encouragement, we now have support for local models, but local models aren't perfect either. Local models are often very large, like gigabytes of data, because they're pre-trained on a lot of data. And so, code like syntax completion is typically small enough that you can put it on any modern device. Even like an Android tablet should have enough space for it. But a code large language model is typically very big, and I don't think we should package it with JupyterLab. And so we also don't have a good story yet for like downloading and integrating that just yet. What do people think about kind of packaging these language models or having an interface to download and incorporate it?
It's like we don't package the Python LSP server, or we don't package Pyrite, or we don't package anything else, like wrap them in a language server, wrap them in a kernel, then the story is complete. And you're not reinventing package managers, and you're not reinventing communication between an editor and an oracle of truth.
All right, I like that. I noticed you said the same thing in the chat. I apologize for not reading it.
I mean, the closest thing that I've seen to that would be like Spacey, and they went off and invented their own package manager to go get stuff out of Hugging Face. At least they actually stored their weights on PyPy, so that if you mirror PyPy, you can still get them, I think. But yeah, like if it's not a standard package manager, then you're in for a world of hurt. If it can't be, worst case NPM, I'm looking at you, Puppeteer browser downloader. But best case, anything that someone would be using, except for that winget thing. That's a joke.
I'm going to read a chat message just for the record. William Stein says, I can't talk out loud right now, but for me, I would very much want to make it so JupyterLab is hosted by CoCalc has access to ChatGPT with the calls to OpenAI proxied through an API I provide in order to securely protect my API key and also meter usage. Similar remarks for other LLM providers, and I bet other JupyterLab hosting providers could also have similar requirements. Now, to William's point, we recently added something where you can now provide a proxy URL in Jupyter AI, because other people have requested something similar. It doesn't stop the problem of like data going out to a third party, but it does allow things to be intercepted because you have some sort of keyword matching or rate limiting to avoid getting a huge bill. So that's something that I believe is supported at least for OpenAI. I'm not sure about other model providers, but it's something that if you don't already see it, please open issues about that. We're also on the lookout for ways to make this work, on a local network or on a local machine, because there are a lot of people who are, I think, justifiably worried about having some third party be spying on their confidential information.
If I were to use my crystal ball, I would say that in the packaging space, there might be a future in which the best state-of-the-art model is somewhere on the cloud. But
I mean, I'd love that, Mike.
With the current efforts to reduce the size of the models and proof of concepts which demonstrate that they can run in the browser using WASM or WebGPU, we might be able to ship a small code completion model that would be tailored to a specific language, possibly with a kernel, and which could potentially run in the browser, or maybe it would be just a Python package. So I would be very optimistic as to what would be the possibilities for distributing that in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the conversations I often have is for people my age and older, you might remember when IBM had the Deep Blue, the supercomputer that challenged the world champion in chess and eventually won. And Deep Blue was like the size of a large refrigerator in the mid-90s. And now your iPhone can defeat just about everyone in the world in chess. And I used to think that chess.com was using some sort of cloud service for the model, but no, the storage and the CPU capabilities of smartphones are now good enough to where, you know, that game can be, you know, trained to a relatively small device. So I think in terms of looking towards the future, with storage continuing to be quite cheap and CPUs continuing to be very flexible, I think that's a pretty safe bet to say that we can have like a miniature code completion model, like just for Python, for example, or just for whatever language you're writing. William writes, CoCalc Jupyter has had extensive OpenAI integration for a while. I get to look at usage stats, and by far the most popular feature is help me fix this, which is a button that appears next to any traceback, which when clicked suggests a fix in a conversation in a side chat. Yeah, there's actually a command in JupyterLab that we added. I think we added like during a demo where if you run a % AI error, it will just send the most recent error to a large language model of your choice to be like, could you explain what this means? And you can also substitute that error into a prompt. So like, hey, could you fix my code? Which for simple Python syntax errors works very well. For anything more complex, you run the risk of what's called hallucination, where I've had it suggest code that is complete nonsense, that it calls functions that don't exist, for example. Well, thank you everyone for indulging my curiosity about this. You know, I'll plug for both Jupyter AI and for the open issue in JupyterLab. I can drop those links into the chat here. And thanks to Mike and all of the folks who have been contributing. We've been getting a lot of really good feedback and pull requests and suggestions about this. And to see the way that people have embraced this product has been really encouraging for our team.
Thanks for providing that tool.
No problem.
Okay, great discussion. I have copied some stuff from the chat into the agenda to like capture the essence of some messages from Nick and William in particular. So yeah, hope you're okay with that.
Thank you.
If there are no questions about this, is there anything else you would like to discuss? We're still on the record, but additional discussion floor, so to speak, is open.
So maybe continuing from that, there was a question raised about a potential Jupyter Slack workspace / channel, and we all know about Gitter, and we can discuss off the record what our preferences are. But yeah, if anyone has some opinions on the record that might be valuable to those who cannot attend this meeting, and if not, we can continue this discussion later. I will just highlight that there are other open source projects such as NumPy, for example, which in addition to more public and open discussion channels have a Slack, which allows people who don't want to discuss things publicly to chip in. It's not necessarily something that we want to do in Jupyter, but just since it was brought up in the issue, I didn't want to dismiss this idea. And for usability purposes, it might be just preferred over the existing Jupyter channels.
I remember there was mentions of that, but I don't think I'm aware of the whole breadth of the discussion. So if there are any links or if it was captured anywhere, please share. And so it would work. The idea is that it would be more usable than, for example, Jupyter, right?
I don't know if there were previous discussions. What I'm raising is just passing on the comment from someone else, and seeing whether there is any interest in that. And if there is, we can discuss this wider in the entire Jupyter project, and maybe that would be just a workspace for JupyterLab, and just trying to gauge interest. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if anyone wants to speak about it, share their opinion, share their interests, please do.
So at the moment, Discord is very popular for many open source projects. So if you go to their page and you see that many of them use it, like I think the Rust language and some other JavaScript framework and so on. And I would say using something like this would be very useful, because then maybe we could move the whole Jupyter community there. And you can imagine having like one channel per sub project or something like this. And since it's already used so much by pretty much everybody, maybe it makes sense to just go where people are. But there is already some discussion about this, I think, on Discourse, at least, maybe somewhere else in an issue. And that would likely be some kind of item for the new committee. I think that the governance wants to set up for like a social media and public communication. So probably something that many people have to agree on before something like that takes place. But in the meantime, for sure, there could be another place. I don't. I mean, anyone can set up a Slack, probably. But if we want something unified in the long run, maybe that will require some more like a wider daily discussion with all of the other sub projects.
Yeah, I remember being part of some conversations about Jupyter a few years ago was acquired, right, by a company called Element, if I remember correctly. And there was this worry that what if Element would somehow destroy Jupyter or disrupt people's existing experiences, which I don't know that that has happened. Like, things have changed, things look and work differently, but like it uses a protocol called Matrix, which you can, I believe, get native clients that use Matrix if you don't want to use a browser interface. Discord, just like most modern applications, is real, like it has a native app, but the native app is really just a web view. Default Jupyter interfaces. It is for me, so you might need to like clear your browser local storage. I think I had to do that for like the Jupyter.im domain to like forcibly refresh everything. To be honest, though, this is a big challenge with like any social context. Is if you go to jupyter.org/community, it is, to be blunt, kind of a mess, because if you want to get involved, there are many ways to get involved, and perhaps too many ways, because I count among the big prominent icons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different contexts, some of which are mailing lists, some of which are live things like forums and chat rooms. So adding a 10th without displacing something else, it's kind of a hard sell for me.
So I also would, just for better understanding, I would like also to better understand like arguments why Gitter slash matrix, you know, is not good for the same role, because they're kind of like chat-based apps, right? So what I have heard is that the Slack or Discord is much more usable than Gitter slash matrix, and that there are more relevant people using it, like people that we would like to target, that we would like to bring into our community. So if you know or think about any other arguments, please share them.
So I just want to acknowledge that Gitter has a very good integration with GitHub, and that's one of the selling points. But other apps, especially Slack, have some form of that as well. Maybe sign up is not as easy.
Yeah, I mean, with the Gitter, don't we just authenticate using our GitHub credentials and that becomes your identity?
Yeah, that's one of the options.
Yeah, which I appreciate. Whereas with Discord, you have to create a separate identity. And if you're on multiple Discord instances, you can have a separate identity for each instance, which can get a little tedious to manage, especially because some instances have like standards for what you must name yourself.
Are there any other comments or opinions or questions on this topic? I think it's an interesting topic that is worth following up on. And Tony says, seems like something community committee could contribute to, but that still seems in the works. So I have some insight on it. I'm a part of that working group since like a week, 2 weeks ago. So I can definitely bring that up during the meeting and provide follow-up, provide feedback to you guys, to everyone, when there would be one available. So yeah, if there are any other questions or comments about this, please feel free to type or speak up. And if not, I will turn off the recording in like a minute, and then we can discuss stuff off topic. Thank you, Tony. Yeah, I hope I will be able to be helpful. Okay, I will turn on the recording now. So brace yourself for the sound.